Hey everyone, and welcome to 1.21 Overload. I am Peter, that is Matt. We talk about movies on this show. We do that once per month, and this is a very specific show. This is a show where we put up a vote on Patreon. Matt picks a movie he loves, I pick a movie I love, and we put them head to head in a vote, and our patrons at the $5 tier and up vote for which one they want. And this month, Matt's pick one again.
Yay!
That's two in a row.
That said, I would have been happily to watch your pick this time. So either way, I came out ahead.
Yep, but two in a row still. I'm keeping note. I'm keeping track. But the winner was That Thing You Do, which is a sort of 60s music scene comedy. It's directed by Tom Hanks, starring Tom Hanks and a bunch of other people. There's a lot of recognisable faces who were looking very young in this as I was watching it, because I'm used to what they look like now. So going 20 years back in time and seeing Giovanni Ribisi or Charlize Theron or Steve Zahn or Liv Tyler, I'm used to what these people all look like now. So this is weird. They're all young. What's happening?
Right? See, and this was my jumping off point for a lot of those guys. So like Giovanni Ribisi, it was this and Friends, where he played Phoebe's weird brother. So
actually, I think I knew. Was he in Mad About You as well?
He might have been. I never really watched Mad About You.
I want to say he was. I feel like he was.
But it's funny because he has a really small supporting role in this, and it's cool to see him develop into this like heavy character actor. Because like he's usually really good in everything he does. So it was fun just to see him in this as a smaller role.
I think I remember him from Gone in 60 Seconds more than I do Friends, bizarrely enough.
Okay. That's fair enough. I
watched
that's
Friends
around the same era.
Yeah, I watched Friends at the same time, so I don't know why I think of that first, but I do. But for Hale, so that's the thing. So this is about a band in the 1960s who essentially sort of stumble onto having a big hit, a big song that everyone seems to love, and they end up getting picked up by a manager, which leads to a bigger manager, a record label, and it's kind of that journey and the trials and tribulations of friendship and falling out and all that kind of thing. So that's basically what the movie is. So there's no point in asking you if you liked it, because this was your pick, so obviously you liked it. I thought it was fine. It was fun.
Yeah, it's a pleasant time.
It kind of falls into that category. I do not regret watching it. I had a decent enough time. I doubt I'll watch it again. It's just kind of is what it is.
This is a movie I've watched numerous times. I've probably lost count. It's it's a movie me and my wife bonded over, that we both, when we got together, we both liked it independently of one another. So that's always fun when that happens. So like one of our favorite go-to lines is, "We're not the Wonders right now. We're Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters," just because it's one of those lines that sticks out. Makes me laugh every time. So, and Steve Zahn in this, he's one of my favorite Steve Zahn performances, just based off of pure comedy, because that's his only role is basically comic relief, and he does it so well.
Yeah, none of the drama comes from him. All the drama comes from Jimmy, the lead singer, because our main character's not him. Our main character is actually the drummer guy who works at an electronics store that his father owns. And he plays drums in the basement when he can, and just because Giovanni Ribisi breaks his arm, they kind of have to ask him to like sub in to be a drummer at this little small competition at the local whatever.
Yeah, it's like a battle of the bands, and he's the one that kind of makes the band, because he starts playing it too fast, and that's what turns it into this 60s, rock and roll. This wistful ballad.
Too fast from the point of view of the people who clearly aren't as confident with their instruments. Because that was actually maybe the first time I kind of got a good chuckle in the movie, was Giovanni Ribisi like reacting to them playing it that fast. He's like, "Oh, that's too fast." Not because he thinks it's too fast musically, just because he's like, "I can't play it that fast. Don't do it that fast. I can't do that." So I got a small chuckle out of that. But so they end up with this hit, which then leads to them playing in a restaurant, which leads to them playing in a bigger thing, which leads to this manager, and so on and so on. It kind of snowballs.
Another one of my favorite lines is they have the one guy that was there at the Battle of the Bands, and he keeps following them around to the different, to the restaurants that they're playing at. And at one point, Steve Zahn's character, Letty's like, "Hey, it's our fan." And just the way that he says that, like it's the only person that likes them. it cracks me up.
Yeah.
Movie's full of small moments like that I don't know, maybe because I've seen it so many times.
Here's a question.
I latch onto.
Which cut did you watch?
So I have seen the director's cut, but I've only seen it once. I've only really seen the theatrical.
Well, it's funny because the director's cut was the only one that was available to me.
Oh, snap. Okay.
And I just about got angry and started swearing at you on Twitter when I sat down and saw the runtime was 2.5 hours long.
Oh, no. Yeah, I would have pointed you in the other direction, my friend.
Yeah, but that was the one that was available. That was the one that was there to rent. So that's the one I had to watch. And I think, honestly, it may have coloured my opinion a little bit. Because
it could, because that's what I've heard.
As much enjoyment as I had, and as much as I don't necessarily feel that there was any specific moments I'd be like, oh yeah, cut that. 2.5 hours for a movie like this is too long.
Oh, definitely.
It's just too long. This is a 90-100 minute movie. That's all it should be. And this was 2.5 hours, and there's various sections, and I have no idea what was added. I have no idea what the new stuff was compared to the old stuff.
Yeah, because you've never really seen it before.
Exactly. All this was just equal to me. So,
I know there's a subplot with Howie Long and Tom Hanks. That's not in the theatrical cut, where they're dating. So I know that was added, but I'm trying
Nah, Tom Hanks wasn't dating anyone in this.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So unless there's a second director's cut, I know that was.
Yeah.
Because it says 39 minutes have been added.
Yeah.
Pulling it up now. There's more Charlize Theron.
Yeah, it kept cutting to her and the dentist. Look through it. I'll just give a spoiler warning right now, just so I don't have to worry about spoiling things. Because I feel like that there's not a whole lot to really spoil, so I'm just going to give a spoiler warning, blanket spoiler warning, so we can not fear people getting angry about mentioning plot points from later on. But yeah, it kept cutting to her and the dentist because that was actually, I can kind of complain about that plot point. That was oddly left hanging, unfulfilled. There was never really a moment where Guy, because this is like Guy's girlfriend Tina, played by Charlize Theron, is at the start of the movie she doesn't really care about his music. She's just kind of like, oh, this is dull and stupid, and she's got the hots for her dentist, and she starts spending time there. She doesn't show up to his gigs and so on, and it keeps throughout the whole movie. It keeps cutting back to what she's doing with the dentist, and it like you have that one moment where she hears the song on the radio, and like he's kind of made it, and but she doesn't actually even realize it's his song. She just kind of goes, oh, I recognize that song. She doesn't even clock that it's his, and there was never. I don't know. I felt like the final moment of him like actually dumping her, or her realizing she's maybe like regretting this because he actually made something of himself with this or whatever. I don't know. I feel like that moment was missing. It was just never went back to it.
Yeah, they go on to it because it really focuses on them. It's basically a satire of the '60s music, where how easy it was to become a one-hit wonder. I mean, it's in their name. They are the Wonders, and this is like their only hit. And it rockets up the charts.
You mean the Onadiers?
The Onators, yeah. Which I think that's funny because there's a lot of Beatles references in this, like the fact that they call Shades Ringo, and if you know your Beatles history, he was replaced. He replaced Pete Best, just like.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Okay, so.
If you know your Beatles history, Matt, I do not know my Beatles history.
I figured you would. You're a you like music, you like that, you know what I mean? Like, you have an appreciation of it.
I have appreciation for music I like, but I'm not like
Gotcha.
I'm not big on everything, but even pop, even new music, like
yeah. I'm not even that big on the Beatles. I just know from like I had to take a history of rock class in college.
I feel like you could hand me the number ones for every week of the last year, and I would recognize maybe two of them.
Oh yeah, me too. Contemporary music is not my forte. In fact, it annoys me for the most part. Like I can't tell you when I purposely listen to the radio last. Like, just because even the rock station that I tend to do listen to, I just don't. But yeah, so they try to take their name. They're the Wonders, but like the Beatles took like the word beat, B-E-A-T. They tried to make one O-N-E into the name, and it's throughout the first half of the movie. It's hilariously mispronounced, and
Until Tom Hanks
us.
says that scrap this. You're just gonna be the wonder spelt normally, and that's it.
Exactly.
We're done. Which makes sense.
But and it follows our up and downs, and we see that.
Given the at the end we get the whole this is what they did now, and years later. This is based on a true story. I take it these are real people.
No.
Oh, no. Okay. So what's with that bit at the end then that says, "Oh, these two got married, and these people did this, and they do this."
Yeah, it's an extension of their. So this was all I remember hearing that this was based on a true story, and in a way it is, but it's more inspired because it's inspired by all these bands that came and went in the '60s, and so I think what Tom Hanks had done is he tried to play up almost like a hoax that this was a real band, and he's not wrong, but there was no wonders from Erie, Pennsylvania that had shot up the charts with the Playtone records and whatnot. So I think it was just giving these characters closure and see what they did later on. Because you find out at the end that Jimmy starts a new band, and it's kind of always what he wanted. Because he's the one that's striving for artistic purity throughout. Like, he wants to do more and more and more. So to find out his story, that's where he leads to.
Honestly, my biggest fault with the movie, actually, is how clearly, like, what the conflict's going to be and how villainous he is very clear. Almost from the very first scene that he's with. We're in the garage, or the garage, sorry.
Garage.
And he's like, slower. And then they get to the Battle of the Bands, and, Guy just starts playing this quicker beat. Yeah. And everyone loves it. I'm like, okay, the conflict, I know what it is already. And that's fine. But again, the movie's 2.5 hours. It took 2 hours from that point to actually get to the moment where he says, "No, artistic integrity, I quit." Like, I'm like, okay, like.
Well, and to be fair, the theatrical cut's 100 minutes, and it takes from that point in the first act to the third act where he quits. So still that, I can see that complaint still lasting, but it's even worse over 2.5 hours.
Oh, it absolutely is because it feels. Not that it's spinning its wheels, but there's a lot of little moment things that it likes to do, which might just be the director's cut, but it does kind of feel like it's drawing out a fairly simple plot longer than it needs to go.
I can see that. Because I remember not enjoying the director's cut as much as the theatrical, which usually I find to be the opposite. I tend to like the director's cuts more, Zack Snyder notwithstanding. But
well, you're saying you enjoy the theatrical cut of Batman v Superman?
I did not say that either, but if gun to my head, I have to pick one. I'm picking the theatrical cut. It's shorter.
Here's where I'll compliment some stuff here. I actually I think the casting is pretty on point. I think everyone's kind of perfect for the roles. I appreciate that right away Guy has more chemistry with Liv Tyler than Jimmy does, and even though they don't necessarily flirt per se, it's kind of there the whole movie, and it's just down to good casting and good direction. So there's things like that I will compliment. I think the cast is probably the strongest element of the movie. On the other hand, I'm going to maybe complain that you hear that goddamn song just a few too many times.
Song. Yeah,
well, I'm not really into '60s music, so I'm like I don't mind hearing it. I don't hate it, but it got to a point though where I've heard this song like 10 times and I'm like, okay, right, I get it. That's the song.
And in the director's cut too, you're spending an extra 40 minutes with it.
Yeah.
So there's ample time. But yeah, this song was written. I did a little research for the show. And do you remember the band Fountains of Wayne? Stacy's mom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the bass player from that band wrote the music for this. Well, so all of the original songs.
That's funny because that was after this movie as well. Amusingly.
Exactly. So I guess he's friends with Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks had hired him to do a bunch of songs.
The bassist from Fountains of Wayne is friends with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
This is weird trivia, Matt. But keep it going.
Yeah. But and so he had hired him to do this, to create these 60 songs that would feel of the era, and I think he successfully did it. I remember my dad had the soundtrack.
I want to give the audience just a little bit of an insight here. Just if you want to annoy Connor, right?
Oh.
Connor happens to hate Stacy's mum with a passion, right?
Oh, I'm sending it to him now.
So if you want to annoy Connor, maybe tweet at him. Stacy's mum's got it going on.
And that's one of the songs, just like that thing you do. You hear that part, and the rest of the song stuck in your head. Because this song, since I watched it earlier in the week, has been stuck in my head. And I'm not complaining. I like the song. One of my favorite bands, Newfound Glory, covered it on their first like cover album, which were all songs from movies, and their version played at my wedding of That Thing You Do. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. 60s music's not particularly my thing.
It's funny. I grew up on punk rock and like metal and just like stuff with an edge and a grit to it. So the older I get, the more I'm falling back into standards and like 60s era rock and roll that I like. So like if I'm making dinner, I like to put on some like 30s and 40s big band stuff.
I think it's typically the 80s once you get to stuff that I kind of like. That's it though. I have a very fussy taste with music. There's very few albums where I like a full album. Like it's usually I like 4 or 5 songs on the album, and then that's all I want to listen to. I'm very, very fussy. Like, there's lots of bands that people recommend me based on another band I'll like, and I'll be like, and it'll be like one thing about them that I just don't like, and I'm like, no, I can't. Like the singer annoys me, or they just the chord progressions they write just don't sound good to my ear, or something. I don't know, whatever it is.
That makes sense. Well, again, music's one of, even I think more so than movies, is it's subjective, and so
absolutely.
You ultimately know what you like. Me and my wife go to battles over this. Last night going to the movies, she wanted to play the new Taylor Swift album, and I want zero part of that. So she drove, so she ended up winning out. But yeah, so I get the subjectivity, but like this was an album my dad, after seeing this movie back when it first came out, my dad went and bought the album.
1996.
In 1996, he bought the album, and it was in constant rotation in our house. Even some of the deeper cut tracks
actually
that Hanks had made.
Here's a weird observation, actually.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is as close to the 60s as we are now from the 80s. And I think what's fascinating about that is, and I don't know if there was as much 60s nostalgia in the 90s, but what I think's funny is that now we have Stranger Things, we have all this like 80s kind of like, we love setting things in the 80s, which I do as well. Like, if I'm picking a decade to set something in, I'm picking the 80s. But I just think it's funny now that we're actually just as equally distant from the 80s now as the 90s was from the 60s.
Well, and I think too what helps with a lot of that nostalgia is the 80s we had a lot better things to take in recording. Camcorders were a lot easier to get a hold of. So it feels like there's weight to it. Like we can remember it easier than from the 80s to the 60s or the 90s to the 60s. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's just part of our generation. Like we were all born decades after the 60s, whereas my parents weren't. I mean, there were kids in the 60s, so maybe their memory's not great, but they lived it. They remember things from it. Whereas we don't. Like for us, the 60s is ancient history because it's way before our time.
Yeah. Sometimes I forget how long ago it was. I'm a big history nut, and so like hearing that it's been 50 years since Kennedy was assassinated. That's half a century.
I mean, hell, but 1960, 60 years ago in a couple of years. Like, it's not long from that.
Basically 2 years.
Yeah. Actually, here's a little bit of 60s thing, or 60s technology I didn't know about that I learned from this movie. I had no idea there was like personal little radios with headphones. In the 60s. That's news to me. That's pretty.
Yeah, that makes for a great scene where they get their first manager after pressing. Guy's uncle records church music, and so he helps them record their first album, and then a manager helps them get it, and he's like, "Hey, if I don't get you on the radio within the next couple days, you can drop me." And there's this fun where they're all listening to the radio to see if they finally make it, and
for a few days,
at the same time.
But for a few days, they're not hearing it, and they're getting concerned.
Yeah.
And then they hear it, and they all run towards each other at Guy's like dad's electronics store, and
and they turn it on.
Because that's one of the fun things of the movie as well, is that his dad's really sort of against them going away and doing these things. But by the time you get to the point where they're actually on TV performing, like he's at home and he's wearing his son's signature sunglasses, because that becomes his thing. He's shades. The drummer wears sunglasses. Which, by the way, maybe this was more common in the 60s. I can't think of a band where the drummer's the most famous one.
Guy.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, and it I always had it added to him because he was the jazz drummer. Like he has this coolness to him, and like there's this whole subplot where he wants to play with Del Paxton, and that's his idol. And when they go to LA, he finally gets to meet him, and he just nerds out on him. And
I do have to admit that was probably my biggest slouch of the movie, was that section where it just kind of felt like, okay, now everyone's meeting idols, and what's his name, Lenny, Steve Zahn's character, he's like meeting a girlfriend who works at the record label. I mean, I imagine there was more of them in this as well compared to the theatrical cut, because it kept going back to them, like they're getting married at one point, and but like that was the point where the movie was kind of slouching for me a little bit. Where I felt like, okay, right, let's get to the... I know they're about to break up because Jimmy's getting more and more agitated with things. Yep. So let's just do it now.
And the bass player runs off. He had told them he was joining the Marines, at the end of the summer, and ends up joining them earlier. And then, of course, Jimmy's getting more and more, I want to do artistic things. And Guy just wants to play the drums. That's all he's preoccupied with.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Jimmy was very hard to be sympathetic with, because... He just keeps saying to Tom Hanks, hey, then we're in the recording studio, right? And I'm like, look, there's lots of phases to this this process, to be in a band and doing these things. And if he's telling you you're touring for months before you get back to the recording studio, you're still going to get to the recording studio. I don't know, it felt very ungrateful to me. He's like, no, I want to be in the recording studio right now. Like, I want to be in charge. I want to do my thing. It felt... I don't know that he's supposed to be super sympathetic, but I think when it came up at the end with the title screen where it said, oh, he's been in bands and he's had 3 gold records and whatnot, I was like...
That makes sense.
Well, yeah, but I don't really care about him because he's kind of an asshole, so...
Yeah. Well, and the whole plot line with Faye, too, because she's the sweetheart of the movie. Yeah. There's literally 0, bad qualities to her in this.
And he treats her like shit. And that's the thing. Is there's no moment of redemption or apology after the fact. Like when they have that fight and break up and he storms out, there's never you don't even think you see him again. Like that's just it.
Oh, actually, she does the funny "I quit."
Yeah, the "I quit" scene, but you don't see him again with Faye. You don't see anything like, "Oh, right, I'm sorry I reacted that way. I should have handled this better." But yeah, we're not right for each other. This was there was never a moment after where we actually got a little bit of redemption where he realized his mistakes. It was just...
And when she has that speech too, she's wasted all this time, and when Hanks asks how long they've been together, it's only 2 or 3 years, which I don't know if it's just that it had taken until this viewing to let that sink in. They're really not a long-term couple. She's just been kind of hanging with him and in the hometown. And like you said, she has with Guy, she has the chemistry there with him the entire time. So I think Hanks kind of tips his hand to where they're going.
Yeah, because there's several moments in the movie where Jimmy doesn't even pay attention to her, where Guy's like, oh, you okay? Because she's sick. She's got a cold at one point. And he's like, oh, you okay? Lie down and I'll send you something. Or, he mentions her on the radio. He's like, oh, she's home at sick. Give her a shout out. Didn't use that phrase because the phrase shout out probably didn't exist in 64. But... But that is essentially what was happening.
But she's kind of instrumental in putting that band together as much as some of the other guys are, because she was there from the beginning.
Actually, no. There is one slight flaw in her character. I just thought of
which
it.
Which is?
Colin Hanks gets a cameo, Tom Hanks' son. He plays an usher who brings her into her seat when she gets all dressed up for the TV performance. Yeah. And he sits her down and just stands there waiting for a tip. And she's just like, thank you.
Oh, okay. Well...
No, admittedly... I didn't grow up in this insane tipping culture, but still, if you want to...
I did, but you don't... I mean, it's a TV taping. I don't think, it's not a proper concert where he's taking you to the very front. I'm sure that was her seat to begin with. She's with the band. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm just going to defend Faye a little bit. I think it's probably one of my favorite Liv Tyler roles. I'm not big in Lord of the Rings. I know people love her in that.
But I'm not. Anyone who's heard me argue with Connor on a regular basis about Lord of the Rings knows I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy.
Yeah.
What, you're not a fan of Armageddon?
I mean, she's fine, but I like her much more.
But what misses thing? Bruce Willis fighting an asteroid.
Yeah, that's right. And Ben Affleck, But yeah, I think she has a great character. And then just the rest of the guys in the band. I love the journey that they go on from touring state fairs to, the record label wants to see them because it's, wants them in LA because it's jumped up the charts so fast, so they stop the tour and they go to there. And that's, the part where Pete says Lowell's, which I'm pretty sure is just the director's cut that Lowell's so bad because it didn't feel like that.
Yeah, it very possible. As like I say, it's hard to actually say, having only seen the director's cut. I feel like half the complaints I probably have are pacing related, and they're probably mostly gone in the theatrical cut. But it is kind of funny that this is the director's cut. Like, this is the one that Hanks prefers. This is the one he's saying, no, this is the one that I'm calling my cut. And I guess it's just because honestly, I got the feeling watching this that this was like a fun shoot, like where they all enjoyed what they were doing. They all had fun, like spending time together and having fun with the scenes, and drumming and acting goofy and putting on the sunglasses and the jackets and all the rest of it. And I get the sense that this was like, oh, let's put all this stuff back in because I had a lot of fun making this, and all these moments are fun. And on their own, for the most part, they are nice on their own. But like, you add it all up and you have a bloated movie.
Yeah, there is a story there, but you're kind of right there. They all kind of feel like vignettes of this is the 60s. So they get to reenact a lot of these things. Like, I mean, the TV shoot is almost like the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, just in color and whatnot. So it's like they get to replay a lot of these things. And I could see Hanks, like you're saying, well, yeah, let's put this in. I mean, sure, it drags down the story, but, we worked hard on it. I can see him saying. That said, I'm trying to think of things he's directed, and it's really this and Larry Crown, I want to say, and then maybe some TV.
I can't say I've seen Larry Crown.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Although, I want to say that he did some Tales from the Crypt episodes. Let me check.
Yeah.
I feel like
he's done a lot of TV, like Band of Brothers and The Pacific. I know he's directed some of those.
He did an episode of Tales from the Crypt. What episode was that? None But the Lonely Heart. That was the season 4 premiere of Tales from the Crypt. You
haven't made it that far with your and Timmy's.
Oh yeah, we're in season 5. We've passed this.
Okay, well check that out then. Go back and.
It was a mediocre episode, if I'm honest.
Okay, well then don't. I don't know. Just trying to help you out here. But yeah, I love Steve Zahn in this movie. Lenny has always been my favorite character. Just again, he gets to be funny. And that's it. Like, he corrects people. It's not the Oneaters, it's the Onators. The scene in the airplane where Tom Hanks is trying to sleep and he's just making fidgety noise. I feel like you've done that with me while we were recording early episodes. Except you couldn't tell me to leave and go check on the pilot, see what they're doing. So there's just a part of that guy that speaks to me, I guess. And I forgot that there's a song that he sings. Because we see part of that in, I want to say in one of their performances.
It's when they're on the stage, it's in the middle, where there's a crowd all around them. They're singing a song there,
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty fun, too. I mean, Zahn's another guy that's become a character actor. He was just recently in War of the Apes. He played a good ape.
He's been in tons of stuff.
Indistinguishable.
He was in that Christian Bale movie, the Werner Herzog one, Rescue Dawn.
Times? Rescue Dawn. I had that and Harsh Times confused because they came out on the same era.
Oh yeah, but one's like a gangster movie and the other one's a war movie. But
yeah, but I get my Christian Bale of that era confused because I haven't seen either. But
Rescue Dawn's also good. Rescue Dawn's worth watching.
Yeah, he's also was in one of my favorite performances of his was in The Perfect Getaway, which is a nice little B movie. With him, Mila Jovovich, and Timothy Olyphant. It's about. Have you seen that one?
No.
Oh man, this might get added. But it's this suspense thriller where these two couples are hiking this trail in Hawaii. It's super isolated, and they get word that there's been a murder on the trail, and that they realize that out of these two groups, one of the groups is the murderers. And it's how you deal with it and how it gets uncovered. It's a fun movie. But again, it's like a B movie, kind of like how The Shallows was, where you're kind of like, this was fun. There's not much else to it. It's very plot heavy. Good performances. But Zahn's like really good in it. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess I can say that a lot about Steve Zahn's parts. He shows up and he's just good.
No, I think I think the movie has kind of a dreamer's kind of like theme going for it, where it's all these guys are dreaming about this, especially Guy, and they're kind of living their moment. That scene where they're having to be escorted to a car, and all the fans are all screaming at them, and it's just very kind of over the top and like very like again Beatles 60s screaming fangirls. which, I mean, it's funny how it's not quite the same anymore. I mean, sure, there's fans
No.
and they'll cheer for people, but you don't get this. You don't get girls fainting in the crowd and
Nope.
storming the police horses to try and get to the stage. Like, what are they going to achieve?
No.
Think about it.
Now they'll assault you on social media. That's
that's right,
where it all happens at. And yeah, I can't say that I miss days like that, but I do miss where everybody knew, like, their pop culture touchstones regardless. Now it's kind of like, I was talking to my wife about this earlier. I feel like you have artists nowadays, they don't record for the album, they record for the single. And every now and then you'll get an album that has like 5 or 6 singles on it, and they'll tour it around, especially pop people like Katy Perry or Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars. But, most of the music nowadays is like Pete was talking about earlier. People kind of just like the songs they like, and they'll download those from whatever music provider, if it's Apple Music, Spotify, whatever, and go about their day. But this was a day where, you had the single, and that was about it, so it created like this bigger, scene. Plus, I think the ways in which you could communicate with the fans was a lot more direct. It was the radio, and that was about it. TV was small still.
I think you'd argue that it's more direct now. Now you can talk to them on Twitter. Like,
what I mean by more direct was you weren't getting it from different sources. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
there was no such thing as it.
Well, that's not more direct. That's more concentrated.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I mean to say. It's more concentrated. Like, if you wanted to hear that thing you do, you had to either buy the single. If you couldn't find the single, you'd have to wait for it to pop up on the radio. And nowadays, it's hey, I'm just gonna go find it and download it, and now it's on my phone. So, and I think that kind of is what led to the Beatles mania, if you will, was, I guess, a big, huge, everyone liked the one thing versus now it's compartmentalized.
I do have to say, though, I do not miss buying CDs. Like, when I was a teenager, I bought a lot of CDs, and like I said, there'd be some times where I'd like 2 songs on an album, and I'd be pissed that I'd spent money on the album.
Well, especially back then, they were like $15.
Yeah, I am so glad we have moved to a format where if you want to buy track number 8, which wasn't a single, it's just track number 8 on the album, if you just want that one, because this is the thing, you can sample all of them on Spotify or YouTube, typically. You can sample anything now and see if you like it. And then, or you can just subscribe to Spotify. Obviously, Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, these subscription services don't necessarily have everything, so you have to, make some choices here or there. But, I mean, I know the music industry is going through a lot of stuff and has been through a lot of stuff, trying to like adapt to a new format to sort of, we've had like artists like fight Spotify for various things because they feel like the revenue, the royalties aren't quite what they should be and so on. But honestly, for someone who's as picky as I am and wants to just like take what I like and no more, it's actually a much better system for me. So,
see, and I feel I'm the direct opposite because like when Kingsman came out and Country Roads stuck in my head, my friend pointed me to a cover band, Me First and Gimme Gimmes, and their version of Country Roads, and then I was like, okay, this is great. What else do they got? And I ended up going through my Apple Music and downloading like 4 of their albums that are just straight up all punk rock covers. So it was fun that I could use that as a jumping off point versus, just like, oh, okay, this is the song. I'm going to download this and be done with it.
The only downside really is the maybe the overwhelming choice a little bit at times because you have literally everything ever you can just kind of access and it's kind of you have to know what you want pretty much. Like browsing's a little bit more difficult, but at the same time there's more variety, there is more specific things. Like I feel like when I was growing up, getting the hold of good like film like scores and soundtracks was a lot more difficult, and it wasn't like a thing I could do. Now like I have soundtracks coming out the ass, like all over the place.
Well, like around Halloween, I wanted to be at work and listen to the original John Carpenter Halloween, and I could just go hook up to my Wi-Fi, download it, and I was good. And I could go around, open up my workplace in the morning, listening to that, and scare myself 4 or 5 times. Because it is very ominous. So, I remember the Dark Knight soundtrack was like that too. I remember finding that at the store and be like, "Oh, I'm buying this." That was a great thing, and it's compared to the '60s to now. It's weird. Again, 50 years of a difference that we're talking here. how much it's changed.
And yet, vinyl persists.
I don't get it. Like, guys, hit me up if you do. Please try to explain it to me. My brother's gone through this phase, and there's an 8-year
Connor's
difference
gone through
between
it.
us.
Connor just got the Batman Begins soundtrack on vinyl.
I get like my brother likes it because you can end up with like a thing. It's a piece of artwork, right? Like it's the album cover, and he makes displays out of them. He hangs them up on his wall. I don't even know if he has a record player yet, though. So like, I don't understand the need to have it.
Well, I'm not going to criticize the hobby, because I mean, this is the weird thing though. Despite the fact that I am 28 years old, I have never actually heard a record being played.
Yeah, me neither. I'm older than you.
I've never had a record player in the house.
Yeah, the one thing I've heard from people that enjoy vinyl is, unlike your phone, which you can just, there's zero effort in putting on the song, throw on your headphones, listen to it. Vinyl requires you to have a record player, put it on, and sit and listen to it. There's no such thing as a portable record player.
Oh, obviously. Well, I mean, you could probably have one, but it'd be like a giant backpack, and you'd be kind of, there'd be a whole thing.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, though. Typically, music for me is not just sit down and listen to music and do nothing else. I listen to music while I work, or while I'm doing something, or whatever, or while I'm outside walking around, and that's like.
Well, me and my wife were talking about the days of having a portable CD player with anti-skip that never worked.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, so and I weirdly enough was talking to her about a record. Like, you didn't have that in the day. Like, there was no such thing as an anti-skip record player. Like, that's how you ruined them.
You couldn't dance too loudly, otherwise you'd make it jump.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, what a digression that thing you do is Slide, which I think is kind of the point, though. I feel like it's Tom Hanks' love letter to that era of music, and we know that he loves that era just based off of his space works with NASA, from Earth to the Moon, and all these other things that he's helped produce and just lent his name to. So I like that it feels like a passion project of his. And again, we haven't gotten too many directorial things out of him, so to me it makes it feel more important. Like, that this was one of his things that he put all this effort to.
Yeah, I think it's well directed in terms of the actors. I mean, visually, I don't think it's necessarily anything to scream about, but in terms of directing the actors, which makes sense, given that he's an actor himself, it makes sense that he knows how to talk to them and get performances out of them. No, I think it's a fine, entertaining movie. I think maybe if I'd seen the theatrical cut, I'd maybe come out feeling more enthusiastic about it. As it is, I think it's a decent movie. I think especially if you like this era, if you like this type of music, I think you'll get even more out of it than I did. I don't regret watching it though. I think it was a fine time.
Yeah, I'm glad too, because I'm watching it, and anytime I win, I always think like, how's Pete can be annoyed by this? And I'm glad to hear that you weren't too annoyed. So
honestly, my only annoyance, having now watched this film, is that I think my film is better. But other than that,
well, that's I'll give Charade a watch, because again, I had started it a year and a half ago when it was on Netflix, and got called away to do other things, and I've always been meaning to go back. I love that. I do like that era. Like, I wouldn't consider myself a 60s fan.
It's actually kind of funny how I picked a movie that was actually made in the 60s, and you picked a movie that was about the 60s.
That's kismet, That's it's weird how that works out. But I do like that era. I'm fond of like the Hitchcock movies of the 60s. I know he has much better ones in the 50s, but there's something about those 60s ones that really sync up with me.
Well, so, I guess we'll rate that thing you do out of 10. So Matt, what would you rate it?
So this one, and just because it's probably my top 10 favorite movies, it's a 9.
Okay.
So yeah, which you shouldn't be surprised at.
All right.
I'm gonna think of yours and see if I'm right. I got it here.
I think it's a perfectly enjoyable 7.
See, I went a little high again, so I thought you were going to say 7.5. So that's fair.
I think it's a perfectly fine, enjoyable 7. I have no really great complaints. I do think I have some pacing issues, but that is probably mostly the director's cut's fault than it is anything else.
So maybe theatrical's a 7.5 then, because you solve your...
Yeah. Maybe. But I think the characters are mostly likable, and it's got a nice sort of fun, upbeat attitude, which I think is commendable. So that is that thing you do. So before we go though, I suppose we should take a moment to maybe argue our case for the next vote, because obviously throughout this month, the month of December, the next Overload vote is up on Patreon for our patrons to vote for, and maybe this is our one chance to kind of campaign.
I.e. Pete's tired of losing.
I just lost 2 in a row, alright? So you know what? I feel like it's my time to shine once again.
But you know what? Again, I feel like our Cold War's over. You dropped, Under the Skin on me. I dropped La La Land on you, and we can, not have to bring out the big guns.
If you think that's the only nuclear weaponry I've got in my arsenal, you are deeply mistaken.
I have others too, so,
You don't like Sweeney Todd, it doesn't count. You can't pick it. You have to love the movie.
No, that's fine, but I know movies that are like Sweeney Todd that I can, Newsies is in my back pocket.
Yeah. So the picks for next month, Matt picked The Big Sick, which came out this year, in fact. So he's picked a contemporary film.
One that might be up for some awards. I came out earlier in the year, so maybe not. But as of right now, I still have a bunch to watch. It's in my top 5 of the year.
Why should I watch this? Why should people be voting this so they can see my opinion on it?
Yeah, so again, it's a contemporary. I feel Pete's going to watch it anyways. So if we can get we missed it because it was a limited release for me. So, I had to go on like a Tuesday afternoon at 4 o'clock to see this in its initial run.
I don't even think I hadn't even heard of it until you picked it. Yeah.
But it's based on a true story. This one's actual true of a couple that start dating and then fall into this really weird hardship. And the Kumail Nanjiani, who you'd know from Silicon Valley, he's a comedic actor. It's based on his relationship with his real life wife, Emily. I can't remember her last name now. Emily Gordon, I want to say. They changed their names up for the movies. I mean, he's still Kumail, she's still Emily. But it's based on their relationship, and there's some real emotion there. There's some great performances, and what it means to be in love, especially in this day and age.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a romantic comedy with a bit of a
little bit romantic dramedy.
Okay, romantic dramedy. Okay. It's funny we both went romantic actually, because mine's is fairly romantic. I picked a movie called 3 Iron, which is a Korean film that it's about this man and woman who kind of fall for each other, but the twist on it, the thing that makes the movie kind of special, is that they never actually say a single word to each other the entire film. So much of the movie is actually silent, because when it's just them, there's no dialogue. And they kind of run into each other because he's this kind of squatter who sort of pays attention to houses, and if he sees that someone's on vacation, he'll break into their house and live there while they're away. And he does that to one particular house, and the wife of the house is there. She's actually sitting in there, but she's so quiet he never even notices. And they end up kind of bonding, regardless of how it's set up. But obviously her husband comes back at one point, but it's a romance that plays out in complete silence, and it's great filmmaking as a result. So no, I highly recommend to the voters to pick mine in this case, because it's actually a fantastic film that I've not seen in a while, and I actually just want an excuse to watch it again. And I think it's a very unique film. I think I can sort of safely say, regardless of whatever Matt's seen, that he's not seen something like this.
No, so I don't mind Korean cinema. Again, Old Boy though made me feel icky. Still makes me feel icky.
South Korean cinema is fantastic. I feel like they knock out things constantly.
I mean, Okja was from a South Korean director, and that's still. Even if I don't traditionally like the movie, I will not forget them. They're very memorable.
I saw The Devil, the Vengeance trilogy, of course, which Old Boy's part of. Save the Green Planet's another fantastic one. Full of great movies. Was
The Handmaid last year?
That was last year. That was Park Chan-wook who did Old Boy. Yeah.
Okay, so that's another South Korean. So because of Pete, I've become aware of the South Korean cinema, and I've yet to be disappointed. There's that said, never gonna watch Old Boy again. So.
Old Boy is a goddamn 10.
Oh, it's a great movie. Again, it made me feel icky. It's the opposite of the thing you do. I feel warm and nice and fuzzy after that thing you do. Old Boy, I just there's a deep pit of blackness in me. So after that.
It was
that
effective.
said, if I could find a way to make Pete watch the Spike Lee remake, that'd be hilarious.
But you have to love the movie to pick it. That's the
I
one
know,
rule. That is
I
the
know.
one rule we have for this show and how we pick our options.
I'm still waiting for you to reopen that contest you did where we get to assign you movies and then you assign a grade and person with the best grade. Which I feel like after the one that you picked first last time was actually a good movie. People were like, well, we're gonna mess with Pete now, and you got an influx of enjoy this.
I have repeatedly thought about some weird Patreon tier where people just get to assign me a movie that I have to watch, but I don't know what price I want to charge for that because I feel like it has to be meaty.
Yeah.
It has to be big because if I'm going to sit through some crap, I'm making sure I've been well compensated for it.
That's why I haven't opened it up to that because I don't trust people. I have trust issues amongst the internet, and that's why I feel this is a perfect.
He's reading Red Hood every month because someone's making him do that,
and that's part of why I don't trust people. But that said, we did a lot of tampering there, by making it known how much he loves Red Hood.
Oh
so
yeah,
of course there
was an implication. There was certainly an implication.
Yeah.
But hey ho, so no, that has been that thing you do. A lot of tangents into music talk, but I guess that kind of makes sense given the movie.
Yeah.
So, by all means, so check out that vote. 3 Iron versus The Big Sick on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, which you of course can support us there, support the channel and everything we do. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. Like, subscribe, let us know what you think of that thing you do in the comments below, all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching movies, guys. We will see you next time.